Everyone, and welcome to the PCR webinar. Today we're going to cover Opera 3 and look at some of the reasons that it differs from Opera 2, hopefully why you should upgrade, and also what's involved in the upgrade process. Okay, my name is Nick Barber and I work for PCR, and we are an accredited Pegasus solutions provider. We'll try and keep today to relatively brief. It is really just intended as an overview. Should anything be of interest, then please feel free to contact us in the office. My contact details are there at the bottom. But yeah, we'll keep it brief. There'll be some PowerPoint, and then hopefully we'll look at some software as well. So without further ado, let us begin. So what we're intending to cover today, a brief introduction. We're going to look at the background as to why you should upgrade, and in particular why now is a really very good time to upgrade. There's lots going on, and there's lots of good reasons around discounts for upgrades, accessibility to the next release of Opera, which is Opera SQL Server Edition. And then we're also going to discuss a little bit about end of support. We'll look at some reasons why you should upgrade at any time. So we're going to look at some differences between Opera 2 and Opera 3. We're also going to talk about infrastructure options and licensing options. So now there's a number of ways you can purchase and deploy the software. We're also going to touch on the upgrade process and what's involved, because for a lot of people, changing their financial accounting software can be quite a disruptive process. It can be quite time consuming, but for those users of Opera 2, a move from Opera 2 to Opera 3 can really be very painless. We can virtually ensure you have virtually no downtime, and the transition from Opera 2 to Opera 3 for users is really seamless. There's no massive retraining required, and all of your data can all be migrated as well. And at the end, if anyone's brave enough, there'll also be a time for questions and answers. Okay, so little introduction as to who we are. We are a Pegasus solution partner. In addition to working with Pegasus, we're also an accredited Microsoft partner. We work with Dell and some of the other names that you can see listed here. If I was to describe in a sentence what we do, we are an IT support and business software provider. We're based in South London, or in Surrey. We've been established for over 20 years, and we've been a Pegasus partner from day one. We were one of the first Pegasus Opera accredited partners back in the day when it was first released as a DOS product. Was shipped on 4 diskettes. So we have nearly now 25 years experience working with Pegasus, and in particular Pegasus Opera. And over that time, we've implemented hundreds of sites, we've trained thousands of users, and today we train and support hundreds of users that are active on the product. What do we do? Well, in terms of our business, we can design, we can implement the software, we can provide post-sale support, ongoing training, ongoing consultancy. We're now entering into quite a new era where the product, certainly since 1993, the product is dramatically different since then. But what we're finding is the pace of change, and in particular in areas such as cloud and mobile, there's some exciting new releases that are on the horizon. So why upgrade now? Well, if you're an Opera 2 user, you've probably heard from us a few times as to upgrading to Opera 2, but we genuinely believe that now is a really very good time to upgrade. And why is that? Well, firstly, the discount. As an Opera 2 user with a valid AMC, you will be entitled to a percentage discount off the retail price of Opera 3. That percentage discount, it was announced 2 years ago in May that percentage discount would gradually decrease. So at the end of April, that percentage discount will decrease by a further 10%. So an upgrade from Opera 2 to Opera 3 will become more expensive. In addition to that, on the Pegasus roadmap is the next version of Opera 3, which is Opera 3 SQL Server Edition. It is a 64-bit back-end edition of the software where the data is held in SQL Server rather than Visual Fox Pro. As an Opera 3 customer, you will be entitled to a free upgrade to this software, but that offer ends in April. So for those two reasons alone, we believe it's a really good idea to upgrade now. Now's a really good time to do it. In addition to that, whilst it's not been formally announced yet, we believe that end of support for Opera 2 is approaching fast. We've seen announcements such as that Opera 2 won't be tested on future Windows releases, such as Server 2016, which is already released as a server OS, but also future desktop OSs. So we don't know that it's going to be called Windows 11, but future desktop releases of Windows won't be tested and supported. So the overriding message for those last 2 points is we really recommend that you don't run your business software that's unsupported on an unsupported platform, and that by upgrading to Opera 3, you're protecting your business by reducing the risk of running on unsupported software. So, what are the differences? Well, there are a whole host of differences between Opera 3 and Opera 2. We're just going to concentrate on some of them. As you can see listed there, there's a different user interface and a different menuing system. We now have the ability to export reports directly to Excel. We have some rectify functions, so in the unlikely event that users do make an error, we can correct those in the ledgers, so we can rectify allocations and rectify journals. We have a much better way of accounting across the periods now with an open period accounting option. And we also have retrospective reporting for debtors and creditors reports and stock valuation reports as well. To make you more efficient, to reduce costs on stationery, we can also email payslips and P60s direct from the system. And there's also a new Credit Management Center module which allows you to hopefully improve the collections function on the sales ledger, and also allows you to email correspondence with regards to debtors letters. We have online VAT reporting. We have some mobile enabled modules. So we have a web exchange which allows you to connect Opera 3 remotely via an app for mobile sales order processing, or via your browser for payroll self-service, so users can update their own details. They can view P60s and payslips and download them. We also have a task scheduler and improved security and backup. Now, there's a lot of bullet points there. What I'm going to do is hopefully just condense some of those into a quick demonstration of the software. So what I shall do is just quickly whip over to my Opera 3 system, and you will immediately see, for users of Opera 2, they'll immediately see there is a new menuing interface which is styled on the Microsoft Office ribbon toolbar. My system has all the modules activated, and as a user I can see all of the modules within my system. So rather than having an Explorer style tree down the left hand side, what we now have is a ribbon style interface where across the top of the ribbon we have the modules grouped together in their groups. So we have financials, supply chain management, CRM, document management, payroll, reporting, and the system administration. In each one of those sections we then have the modules. So financials, we have the sales ledger that you can see here, purchase ledger, nominal ledger, cash book, fixed assets, and costing. Okay, and the same for supply chain management. The plus sign in the menu has now been replaced with a drop-down box. So where you see areas of the system with a drop-down box, just reveals other menuing items. But crucially, once you've selected the menu item that you wish to use, what users will instantly see is recognizability of the software, and the forms are very similar. So the big advantage that gives you is that moving from Opera 2 to Opera 3 is really quite seamless. Okay, users can go from Opera 2 to Opera 3 without using any of these new functions almost seamlessly. But obviously what they also have is the ability to have the new functions. So one of the most popular functions is the ability to export reports direct to Excel. So here I'm just going to take a standard invoice and credit notes report. I'm presented with the usual options that I would expect to see. So I can send it to screen, printer, file or email, but I've also got here an additional option now to drop down and suggest and ask for a Excel report or an Excel report. It prompts me for the default path, it prompts me for a file name. I'll just click publish. What that's going to do now is fire up Excel and export the data direct to an Excel sheet, and it will load your report that you see there. The numbers come across as numbers. Okay, so they can all be added up. Obviously from here you can then save it, print it, or share it via email. We also have some rectify functions. Now these functions are available on the sales ledger. What we have is, and the purchase ledger, we have a rectify function for rectifying allocations. So within the sales processing menu, I could select rectify allocations. It then asks me for a date range of allocations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select a wide range of dates. So we get some data appearing in the wizard. It then gives me a list of cash that's been allocated. I can tick the receipt that I wish to deallocate. It then shows me everything that's allocated against. Select next, and I can then apply a comment, and that will then deallocate that cash on the sales ledger. The same applies on the purchase ledger, and the rectify function on the nominal ledger allows us to rectify either individual lines of a journal or a complete journal. So again, what I should do is just apply some criteria here to give me some data. I can then highlight a journal. Let's highlight this one here, which was a minor creditor adjustment. I can look at the journal and click on action. From here, action, and rectify the current line, or action and rectify the complete journal. One fundamental option that's it's a change to the way that Opera works as far as its periods are concerned, and is an option on Opera 3, is an option that we call open period accounting. And what this provides is it provides users with far more flexibility on their period accounting, allowing them to post in advance or as far back. It gives them much greater control over the periods, because every period can either be open, which will accept postings, it can be blocked, which will temporarily suspend postings, or it can be closed and finalized off. So unlike the restrictions in Opera 2, where you were not allowed to post in advance on the nominal ledger, for instance, that is now a thing of the past. So whilst you still have a concept of your current period within the nominal ledger, you can post as far forward or as far back, providing that period has been defined, and also providing that period is open. So here you can see in my financial calendar for this year, I have the periods down here, and then for each module, the nominal, sales, purchase, fixed asset, stock and payroll, I can then determine whether or not the period is open, which will accept postings, blocked, temporarily suspended, or closed. And if I wish to reopen a period, it's as simple as clicking, providing I have the security rights, to changing the status that you see there. Certainly that is a far more flexible way of working, and we tend to find that users that are happy with Opera 2 period accounting the way that it works, that's fine, you can keep it that way, but with Opera 3 you do have options to be far more flexible, and you've also got support for real-time update of the ledgers as well. So if you're an Opera 2 user that's currently performing transfer reports and you would much prefer not to do that, that can be done as a real-time option as well. A couple of final features. So we've also got the ability to email payslips now. So again, if you have a significant payroll, hundreds of employees, as many of our clients do, what this option allows you to do is from within the software natively send payslips, which can then be viewed on the web portal if you do deploy the Web Exchange application. And we've also got the option to email P60s at the year end as well. If I look at the employee and look at their details, what we have here is options as to whether we would like to email P60s and payslips. We can enter either a work email or a home email. We can generate correspondence to advise them that they're going to receive their payslips by email, and we can also generate a password that's used so that the PDF that's sent to them is fully password protected, so that only they can open that that attachment. On the sales ledger, we have Credit Management Center. So this is a new module within Opera 3. It's not available within Opera 2. What this allows us to do is effectively centralize all the information that a credit controller would use to make them more efficient in collecting cash. So the concept behind the Credit Management Center module is to allow you to very easily contact and make contact with, let's say, the 80 or 90% of your customers that would pay you quite happily, maybe just require a small prompt. Then what a credit controller can do is then focus the time intensive activities such as phoning people up, discussing their account, finding out when they're going to pay. You can concentrate all of those time intensive activities on the 10 or 20% that take slightly longer to pay. So what the Credit Management Center is doing is taking data from the sales ledger and presenting it to us in a far more meaningful way as far as debt collection is concerned. So we can see at a glance graphically what our total invoice debt is. We can see how much is not outstanding and how much is overdue. If I want to see, in this case, this figure of 57,000, how it's made up, I can double click and it will then give me a customer by customer breakdown. Okay, so instantly I can see who is the highest overdue customer. I can also see that broken down graphically in a bar chart. I've got a view of my disputed invoices down here. Okay, and that gives me all my disputed invoices. And then I've also got my outstanding actions. So within Credit Management Center, you can generate actions. So if a customer promises to pay, you can log that, and in 3 days' time, you can have an action to check whether or not it has been paid. This tab here shows us the data company-wide. I can then drill down in a bit more detail and look at it at an account level. So again, it's giving me a slightly more detailed view than I would get on the sales ledger as standard. So I've got a list of accounts, I've got their outstanding balance, nothing unusual in that, but then the overdue amount is showing me how much of that balance is overdue, how much is disputed, how much is promised, and so on and so forth. I can then log actions against customers. So as I say, if a customer has said that they will pay, what you can do is you can click on action and then log that into a diary. What I can also do is I can also design company specific correspondence for debtors letters, and I can also then generate that using a wizard. Okay, so again, I can have multiple levels of correspondence, and the system will automatically track which level the customers are on, and if they pay, it gives me optionally the chance to reset that level. Okay, so hopefully that's given you, as I say, an introduction and a feel for Opera 3, and also a view on some of the differences between Opera 2 and Opera 3. What I'd now like to talk about is some of the more commercial issues, which is the licensing model that we now have. When Opera was first released, subscription-based licensing wasn't an option. No one even thought about it, but very much it is flavour of the month at the moment. So there are a variety of ways that you can license and deploy Pegasus Opera 3 now. It can either be deployed as an on-premise solution or as a cloud solution in a hosted environment, and the software itself can either be purchased outright or as a monthly subscription. The subscription pricing can start from as little as £39 per user per month, though that does depend on the modules that you are going to use. And the Pegasus Business Cloud also provides you with a hosted server and hosted desktop that you can use for Opera, along with any other application that you may want to use in a shared environment. The big advantage of the Pegasus Business Cloud is accessibility and security. So your application and your data is accessible from wherever you are, providing you have a connection to the internet, and it is totally secure as the data center deploys up to date, high level, enterprise level security, and it is a tier 1 data center. So that covers some of the commercial aspects. Again, we get asked a lot, what's involved, how long will it take, will there be disruption? And hopefully now we'll cover off all of those questions that we're asked on a regular basis. The process for upgrading from Opera 2 to Opera 3, it does depend on the size of site that you are, but it can be done very quickly. And it can be done with virtually zero downtime. So our typical preferred procedure or process is for us to install Opera 3 beside Opera 2. We'll then upgrade the data overnight out of hours, and so that the next morning your users will come in and they'll be able to use Opera 3 straight away. Okay, we will provide them with some documentation outlining the differences between Opera 2 and Opera 3. If they, for instance, if open period accounting is not switched on from day one, because it can be switched on later, or some of these other functional differences are not deployed, then users can be up as quickly as possible. All of your data is all converted using the Pegasus supplied Opera 3 data upgrade wizard, and it's something that we've done hundreds of times. It really is a seamless and painless process. So if you're concerned about the disruption it may cause getting onto the latest version of the software, I can assure you there is very little downtime and very little pain involved. So in summary, I believe there are 3 main areas of consideration and good reasons why now is a very good time to upgrade. From a financial standpoint, the best discounts are available now. Access to the free SQL Server Edition is available now, and will only be available until the end of April. Technically, you've got a new user interface, you've got significantly better reporting, there's increased productivity with emailing and exporting of reports, you've got the opportunity to improve cash flow with Credit Management Center, and you've got mobile enabled modules as well, which we haven't looked at today, but mobile SOP and the Payroll Web Exchange, which I've mentioned in the PowerPoint introduction beginning, are only available on Opera 3. Commercially, you've got a variety of options available to you now, so you can go with a subscription licensing based model that will probably carry you through into the next release of Opera 3. You've also got compatibility with future software releases is ensured with Opera 3. Unlike Opera 2, new release of Windows comes out, may not be compatible, and so therefore you reduce the risk of running unsupported software within your business. If there are any questions, please fire away. Okay. So all that's left for me to say is, firstly, thank you very much for taking the time to attend. I hope you found it useful. If you have any queries, please don't hesitate to give me a call or drop me an email. But thank you very much to attend, and I wish you all very well. Thank you.